What's up? Getting warmed up here, everybody. Checking everything to make sure it all works first. That's working there. All right. Who we got? Larry, Corey, you guys, right on. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in, y'alls. Got to make sure everything's working here. Wait till we get a couple other people in. All right. We are happening. We got volume. We got everything working. Guys, hear that guitar all right? Get a couple more people on in here. You know what time it is, everybody. Lisa, man, you know what time it is, everybody. It is Metal Monday. Yes, indeed. We're going to break down some riffs. Break down some riffs. Stretch it out. Who do we got? We got Larry up in here. Corey, Lisa. Ray. Kent. Joel, Martine, Larry. I think, do we have enough people to get started? Robert, what's going on? All right, you guys, grab your guitars. Man, this album, I'm going to tell you right now. George, thank you guys for tuning in. Nancy, this album kicked my ass. What can I tell you? I reached for the stars, and I barely got there with this one. Unbelievable record here, everybody. Number of the Beast, a personal favorite of mine. You guys voted between Number of the Beast and Peace of Mind, and Number of the Beast won. I was on the fence about either one of those, and actually at the end I'll have you vote on what I'm going to do next time. So I'm going to start because I actually have a lot to try and go through today. This record is obviously amazing. It was released in March of 1982. First album for Bruce Dickinson, last album for Clive Burr. If you're not familiar with the story of Iron Maiden, it's pretty fascinating. They got started in the 70s. Steve Harris being the bass player who wrote a lot of the material, kind of his band. Dave Murray's been in there from the beginning, one of the guitar players. But there's a lineup change every record for the first 4 records with Iron Maiden. There's some lineup change. The 2 biggest ones being Bruce Dickinson coming into the band for Number of the Beast, and then for Peace of Mind, Nika McBrain coming in to play drums. I love all eras of Iron Maiden for the most part. When Bruce was gone, I didn't really pay as much attention, but he's back. He's been back for 20 years. Adrian Smith is back. So I'm going to play the first minute of the first song on Number of the Beast, which is called Invaders. I'm just going to play it for you guys, and then I'll kind of go back and break down some of the riffs. I will say that there are 3 key changes in the first minute of the song, which is, if you thought that Iron Maiden was not influenced by progressive rock, this is proof that they were. There is a blues influence. I always try and kind of get everything back to the blues. There is a blues influence in all this stuff, mostly in the guitar playing. You know, Dave Murray is a big Hendrix fan, and you know, Adrian Smith was into a lot of blues rock and stuff. I've heard him cite some guys like Robin Trower before, Pat Travers and whatnot. But I'm going to play the first minute of Invaders. There's an intro riff. Goes into a riff in the key of E. It starts in E, goes to the key of A, comes back to the key of E, and then somehow ends up in the key of A flat for the chorus. a song, everybody. That's just crazy. So you're going to hear a progression here that you've heard in previous Iron Maiden songs. You're going to hear in later Iron Maiden songs, and you're going to hear throughout metal as well. And if you want to assign them numbers, we call it the 1, flat 6, flat 7 chord progression, which is, we're in the key of E, that would be considered the 1 chord. Flat 6 is a reference to the flat 6 note of the scale. It's a minor scale. This is based on a minor scale. That would be this, C, and then D, which is be considered the flat 7, and then back to 1. So you hear this. In a lot of different songs in heavy metal. We heard some of it 2 weeks ago when we did Last in Line by... I'm sorry, not Last in Line, Holy Diver by Dio. We heard some of that progression in some of those songs. So the beginning of the song is that riff. 1, flat 6, flat 7. So that's the very beginning of the song. That's in the key of E minor. This next riff is in A minor, I guess you could say, based on the pentatonic scale. It's a really cool riff. I took a little while to kind of get underneath the fingers. So this is just all in A, all based on the A pentatonic, which is also sometimes referred to as the A blues scale. A little open string action. Really cool riff. Does that a few times, and then we get into the verse, and the verse goes straight into that 6/7 minor 1 is what makes Maiden go. That's right. This is what it's all about. That progression. You'll hear that progression in a lot of other Maiden songs, the Trooper especially. So after we get through the A riff, we get into this riff in E, and that's the... One thing I was noticing when I was listening to this, I listened to the record a bunch over the last couple of weeks, which is great. A lot of great songs. I also went and looked some things up online. I actually have some music books that have some transcriptions of these songs. So I surely tried to get as much information as I could to really break these down and play them as close as I could to what's really going on the record. You'll notice that first E chord, they're kind of pedaling on the low string instead of going, they're going, and then pedaling on these chords. So that's the first part of the verse. The longboats have been sighted. Evidence of war has begun. Great song about the invasion of England there. And we get into what I guess you can kind of call a setup for the pre-chorus, or even the turnaround in this. That's actually kind of taking this into a little bit of a different scale right there. That's what is referred to as the Dorian mode in music theory. You can hear here, instead of going, so it's a little bit of a different note choice right there with this little, and that sets up what I consider to be kind of the pre-chorus of the song, which is kind of a little bit of a reflection of blues turnarounds. It goes to what's called the 5 chord. So in the blues, you'll hear a 12-bar blues progression go around, and it comes up to what's called the turnaround, which usually goes to what's referred to as the 5 chord. We already did the flat 6 and the flat 7. This is the 5 chord. So that's the pre-chorus setting up the chorus, and this is where, to me, things get a little bit weird and progressive, if you will. Is it goes, you can kind of get between the keys of A and E, or E and A, back and forth pretty harmlessly. Doesn't really sound weird or anything. You can get to those two keys pretty easily. This chorus goes to the key of A flat, And anyone that told you that you didn't have to learn your major scales when you're starting to take guitar lessons was lying, because you have to learn your major scales in order to play this. Okay, so the chorus is very strange. It's always kind of, I've always thought it was kind of a weird sounding chorus, but that's the chorus. So it goes from an E flat to an A flat, and then it goes up the scale here. Comes back down. And then it goes back into this riff. Kind of a weird progressive sounding thing. That's Invaders, everybody. That's the majority of the song Invaders. I'm just going to try and get through the main riffs here, the main ones. Can you hear the guitar okay? I just want to make sure you guys can hear enough guitar. I can never tell if it's loud enough or if it's not loud enough. That's Invaders, everybody. Great way to open the record, you know, with that tune. I'm not doing every song. I can't do every song. There's way too many songs on this. Awesome. Good to know. So I'm going to skip ahead. You know, I'm going to show you guys real quick just so that we can kind of look at that. I mean, I remember, I'll tell you a story about my original vinyl copy of this, but that's the cover. Obviously, Iron Maiden got in a little bit of trouble. They had a lot of people kind of after them, thinking they were Satan worshipers and all that, which they are not. But this was, you know, they've always had this imagery of this ghoulish figure called Eddie, who was basically been on all their album covers. And, you know, when I was a kid, I thought that was pretty darn cool. Let me get to the, let me see if I can show you guys the back cover here real quick. Let me see if this works, if this is the, it's still the front cover. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can do this. This back cover, I think, is almost equally as cool. Is this it? There it is. So check it out. The back cover, you might have to zoom in there, but I've always really thought the back cover was cool. It is actually, I don't think it's one continuous image. I haven't been able to find a continuous image of it, but there, you know, there's Maiden chilling in an animated hell. You know, actually, you know, as an adult, I mean, it is a little bit silly, but it's awesome. So there you go. Invaders, Children of the Damned, The Prisoner, 22 Acacia Avenue, side 1. Side 2, Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, Gangland, Hallowed Be Thy Name. If you have the CD version of it, there's a song called Total Eclipse that they recorded that ended up being, I believe, a B-side for something that they then put on the CD of Number of the Beast. So you can, if you get the CD, there's an extra song on it. That's actually cool. They were kind of on the fence about whether they were going to put Gangland or Total Eclipse on the record. Personally, I think Total Eclipse is a better song. But they ended up going with Gangland, and there you go. So that is the back cover. We're doing Number of the Beast. We're doing Number of the Beast. And before I go further, I want to get to the worthy cause of the week. I did a little bit of research, and this is a charity that Iron Maiden supports officially. It's called Nordoff-Robbins, and it's the UK's largest independent music therapy charity. There is the website there that should work, nordoff-robbins.org.uk. So I went and found that, and I did a little bit of investigating, and it seems like a very cool organization. The different guys in Maiden all kind of have some different charities that they support and worthy causes of their own. This was one that it seemed was a unanimous one that the band supported and would raise money for. Bruce Dickinson also has some others that he's involved with. So I don't do a tip jar for these, you guys. I just try and point out a worthy cause. And at the very least, you know, please go to the website and just check it out. It's about awareness. And if you're in the giving mood and you want to chip in to the Nordoff-Robbins Music Therapy Charity, please do. I'll come back to that a little bit later. What's going on? Saw you with Alan Parsons in Valle de Bravo, Mexico. I remember that gig. That was, I think, a one-off. We went down there. We flew into Mexico City, took a long van ride, and I believe after that show was the first time that I ate a cricket taco. More on that some other time. All right. Where are we? We are at The Prisoner. Great song. Now, I don't know how much of this I can actually play for you guys, because I think if I play too much of a song, that it's going to get taken off of Facebook. I know we're also streaming to YouTube, so I'm hesitant to play anything off the record. I don't want it to get pulled down off of Facebook. Prisoner, great song. Again, we've got a little bit some key changes going on with The Prisoner. We start off in the key of B. So this is just all pretty much power chords in a lot of this, but there's some other stuff later on in the song that are some really kind of cool chords that you don't hear in a lot of other heavy metal bands use. So the intro to this, it kind of switches up every other time as far as where the accents are. So we're basically we're playing a B to A to D. There's also A to pedaling off of a G, and then F sharp to E there. A, E. All right, the second time around it pushes these accents. So the first time it would go. First time around the progression. Second time around the progression it goes. Kind of pushes that next chord. Same with the other. So I'm just going to play this one time through. You can check it out. All power chords. We're in the key of B. So we've got B and A and D. We've got A, and then F sharp and E. A to E. So cool drum fills in there. There's the push. It kind of pushes those at the end. Hello from Texas. What's up, Texas? What would be a difficult riff that you can think of? Could you play it? This whole album's difficult. So that's the intro, and that comes back a little bit later during the guitar solo. But I want to get to the verses and the pre-chorus and the chorus of this. It's really cool. I really love what they do with the key change that goes into the chorus of the song. So that's what happens during the verse. We're still in B. So a lot of things that you're going to find in some of this stuff. What's up, Flashman? A lot of the stuff that you're going to find in this song, happen in a lot of other Maiden songs, where you have drop the root down a half step. So that's the verse, all kind of based around B and D in there. Now this E may not actually be the E that they use. I use this E a lot. There's some other stuff coming up here. Reminds me of Alex Lifeson. And Alex Lifeson, does a lot of these cool chords where you get open strings ringing while the chord's changing. And, this is just a huge, giant E power chord. If you've never played this chord before, it's pretty cool. It's just basically a regular E where I'm barring on the second fret of the A string and the D string. That'd be like your basic E power chord. Then I'm hitting this B here on the fourth fret of the G string. And then I'm letting the B string and the E string also ring open. So you get this. It's about as big of an E power chord as you're ever going to find. There's only 2 notes in that chord spread out through a couple different octaves. get to the pre-chorus, and this is where we get some really cool chords. We have basically an A minor 7 chord here. So we're just taking this A minor 7, sliding it up 2 frets, and you kind of get this sort of B minor 6 kind of thing with the A in the bass. Really cool sounding chords, and this is leading up to, so this is kind of off of a D. You can kind of look at this a couple different ways. You know, this is kind of like a top part of an A chord with a D in the bass. That's a B suspended chord. Resolving the B. And then we get into the chorus. No mustard on my burger, ketchup only, French fries, blues. All right, Michael, good to know. All right, so here we go. We're going to go from the verse into the pre-chorus, and then we're going to get to the chorus. So the verse again. So that's setting up going into the chorus. Right at the end there, it's B sus to regular B major, and then A. Now this is where the magic happens. This is going into, now we're going into the key of E from the key of B. And really cool, and this is what I mean by Alex Lifeson chords. We're going to have these top 2 strings ringing out over this progression. So there's E, and then B, just a B power chord, but then an A power chord. So we've got those top 2 strings ringing. So if you listen to something like Tom Sawyer, you know, or even a lot of those Alex Lifeson chords have those strings ringing out on top, which is very, very, very cool. So the chorus. C sharp, G, back to E. The second time we're going to go C sharp, G, and then back to B. So it's a really neat, I think it's a really cool progression. It's actually, if you listen to it, if you were to take the distortion off of it and strum it, you know, it almost sound, you know, kind of like a classic rock, I dare say almost pop-ish kind of thing. Very melodic, great tune, great tune. I'm a free man. That's right. So if you got any questions, throw them in the comments. I can hopefully circle back and check this out. Yes, actually, Bruce is a commercial pilot. And speaking of which, up next, you guys, I was going to show you, this is how deep the geekdom goes. This is Bruce Dickinson's autobiography right here. It is called "What Does This Button Do?" New York Times bestsellers list. As you can see, I'm not quite done with it. I'm almost done with it. I started reading it quite a while ago and have not been keeping up on my reading. But it's actually pretty fascinating. It talks about his childhood and his band that he was in before Maiden called Samson, which is actually pretty cool. If you want to check out Samson, they've got a couple of good records. And then getting into Maiden and talking about, you know, getting the gig with Iron Maiden, and this was the first record that he was a part of. So if you're into reading autobiographies, this is a cool one. What Does This Button Do? Bruce Dickinson. There it is, everybody. Yes, I do a little bit of reading. So there it is. Bruce Dickinson autobiography, The Prisoner. We're already 25 minutes in. I still got a lot to cover here. A lot to cover. So just showing you guys the meat of these songs, the main riffs. It's a good challenge for me. I appreciate you guys watching. This gives me something to get down on during the lockdown and learn about, and keep my guitar chops up. So let's hammer through these last few here, you guys. Bruce is very talented. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So we're going to get to the title track of this song. This is actually a pretty difficult riff to play. It kind of weaves in and out of a couple different time signatures. But, you know, the main thing is it's really just going back and forth from a D chord to a C chord. So that, I mean, that's essentially what happens in the beginning of this song, followed by one of Bruce Dickinson's great, probably his best metal scream. The thing that's difficult about this is to kind of remember how many times you play all these little intricate parts of this riff. The very beginning, there's kind of a 3-note pickup. 1, 2, 3. And then it goes into, that's the only time it does it, is just that little first 3-note pickup. And then to kind of keep track, if you want to try and play along with this song, you know, when it's doing the, you're kind of doing the upstroke on that next note to create the power chord 5 times. If you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's how that riff goes. One thing to also remember when it goes to the C, the second time, just use those 2 notes instead of going, it goes back to the D. So I'll do it a little bit slower. So again, 3-note pickup is the only time that happens. So. So pretty cool riff. I might try and just get the, see if I can just cue up that scream one time, and hopefully it won't get taken down off of Facebook. It's just so good. Let's see if I can just get this on here one time and not get busted by the Facebook police. It's just so good. I want you guys to hear it. If you haven't heard it, it's just the best metal scream ever. Pretty gnarly. Still going. Yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable. So that's the title track riff. That's all I'm going to show them that one. I'm already kind of running behind a little bit here. Anyone have any questions about any of those riffs so far? All right, so next up, Run to the Hills. I'm going to break down, I think, this entire tune for you. I think I've got the time to do it. This is probably the most well-known song on this record. I don't know that they got any airplay for it, but there was a video on MTV. And not my personal favorite Iron Maiden song, but it's obviously a very well-known Iron Maiden song. It's pretty cool. And again, there's some key changes going on with this one. A lot of cool riffs. You know, it's got a very famous drum part. I'll just play just the drum intro just in case you haven't heard that in a while. Let's see. So, you know, a pretty famous drum intro. So, this is in the key of A, this first part. And, what's up, Joe? This is in the key of A, and we're just going to kind of do, you know, last 2 weeks ago when we talked about some of those power chords that you do off of the A string, kind of similar here. So all what it is, we're up here on the 9th fret and the 7th fret on the D string and the G string, just forming an A power chord. And this is just barring the 7th fret on the D string and the G string, and that's kind of like implying a D chord. Then we're going to go C, the D, and then open, which is the G. So that's what the one guitar is doing lower. There's another guitar up playing what are called double stops, which is 2 notes at the same time, and it's essentially playing these notes. It's playing E to D to C, and then G to A. But he bends it. So that's kind of the beginning of the song, is those two guitars working that together. What's my favorite Iron Maiden song? That's a great question. That's a great question. I might have to go with 2 Minutes to Midnight or Wasted Years. Those are all, those are a couple of my favorite ones. Although I love this record. I love The Prisoner. So anyhow, so those are the two parts in the beginning. And then at the very end, it kind of ends on the D chords. It goes. And then that's where it starts into this gallop. Now this galloping stuff, if you haven't done it, it's a real workout. You know, I've been working on this for the last couple of weeks, trying to get it together. It's very difficult to do what these guys do, and to really keep it going through an entire song. So I'll do my best for you. The verse, you know, it's not a lot of chords here. It's basically going from a D to a C, and then doing that sliding. So we've already seen that already in a couple of the songs we've already done. There's a couple different ways you can kind of finger that. I'll sometimes start the power chord off playing with my middle finger and my pinky, and then that way I can just go. Or you can just use one finger and go. We get to the pre-chorus, we go to A, C, F, back to D. And what that does is that sets us up for our key change going up to the chorus. Again, we're talking about, I'm throwing some of these numbers out at you, and you know, when you change keys, you know, there's different ways to do it. When we're in D, D is what's referred to as the 5 chord in the key of G. Even though we're in the key of D, D has a relationship to other keys and other chords. So if we end on D, it does not sound bad to go to G major. So if you listen to that setup again, then that brings us to so it's basically the chorus is G, F, to C. And we're going to drop this back down a half step here to G. And there's a little kind of a climb that you hear him do. You get back to the G. So here's going into the chorus. And great chorus, obviously, in this song. There's 2 guitars in Maiden, Adrian Smith and Dave Murray, both of whom are fantastic guitar players. Love them both. And if you listen, they're pretty much stereo in this record. They've got very similar guitar sounds, so sometimes it's kind of hard to tell who's doing what and whatnot. But there is a guitar that's galloping through the entire chorus, just like the bass. And I feel for Steve Harris because he gallops with 2 fingers. I don't know how he does it. You would think he would gallop with 3, but he's a 2-finger galloper for whatever that is. So there is one guitar that's going. So there is a guitar that's doing that. The other one is playing big old power chords. All right, so it repeats all that. We go through all of that, and we do another verse, pre-chorus, chorus. Coming out of the second chorus, we're going to the guitar solo. Another key change here. So we're in G major for the chorus. Now every key, every major key has what's called a relative minor key. And every minor key is what's called a relative major key. And the relative minor to G major is E minor. And you can tell that a couple different ways. It's just down on a guitar. I guess you'd call that, 4 half steps or 3 half steps rather. So we're going to go to the key of E minor for the solo. I'm going to play through the solo progression. It's only 3 chords. It's E, G, and C. And once again, it does that little half step riff thing. So I believe this is a Dave Murray solo. He just rips through this, and I haven't learned the solo. I've learned a little bit of it. There's a cool lick at the end that's really neat, some cool intervals. And then it comes to this little section that builds back up into the chorus, and once again we have another key change. We're going to back to the key of A. So we started the song off in the key of A with the... Alright, so we haven't been to the key of A in a little while. So after the... Hey Jeff, what's going on? After the solo, we're going back into the key of A with this build up with another great Bruce Dickinson thing. So after we get through here... So this is the big build-up that goes back into the chorus, and these are all just straight root 5th power chords. So there's none of those power chords like we were talking about a couple weeks ago with like Smoke on the Water and some of the Dia stuff. This is just straight. So there's an A power chord here, root on the D string on the 7th fret, and then all of these are getting played against the A pedal. So we're just going A, B, C, D, just going up the minor scale there. And that's setting us up to go back to the chorus, and how that works. Took me a while to figure out how this works and why it works. So we're in A now. So they end up on this D chord up here, which again is the 5 chord of the key of G. So that's how we're going to get back to the key of G major and make it sound like it's not as disjointed as, say, something like the Invaders chorus. So... back to the chorus. At the very end it slows down and gets back to the G. So that's all the parts, all the rhythm guitar parts to Run to the Hills. Not the solo, but that's all the rhythm parts. That is a great song. Classic, of course. Probably... I would say one of Iron Maiden's most well-known songs of all time. Thanks for tuning in, Joe. Thanks for tuning in. So I wanted to share with you guys a couple things before I get down to the last tune here. I'm gonna show you my original vinyl copy, and I'm gonna show you the guitar pick, a guitar pick for my collection for the week, and then we're gonna do a name that riff. So if you're warming up your keyboard hands to win Name That Riff, that's coming up shortly. That is coming up shortly. Once again, well, let me get my record out here. While I'm getting that, everybody, I want to show you the my different social channels. If you're so inclined to give a like, I'm building up my Twitter and my YouTube and my Instagram. So those are all the addresses right there, scrolling across the screen right there. Again, we're doing Number of the Beast today, and this is my original copy. Now, I've got an interesting story about this. So this is my original vinyl copy from 1982. And if you compare this to, let me see if I've got this, I've got the CD here. I want to show you guys something that's pretty interesting. Where'd the CD go? Actually, I'll just pop this back up on the screen real quick. Give me a second. We're just making it up as we go along. Is this it? No, that's the back cover. That's the back cover. We don't want the back cover. We want the front cover. We want the front cover. Let's see. It's not always easy popping this stuff in there. Let's see. Is this it? That's still the back cover. That's still the back cover. Here we go. This is probably going to be it then. Is this it? There we go. All right, so check this out. So that's the artwork as it's supposed to be, as it stood when it was released. And you'll notice it's very dark background. You know, a lot of black in the background there. It's essentially, you know, a lot of black and white with the red and obviously the eddy. So that's how the artwork was supposed to be. When it originally was printed up, you'll look and you can see the black got messed up. I'm out of focus there. Hopefully I'll get back in focus. The black got messed up. There's a lot of blue in there. And so this was actually a mistake on the on when this thing was pressed up originally, was all this blue that's in the cover. So this is the original vinyl copy. Now you might be wondering about this, why there's a big rip there, why there's a tear here. I'm going to tell you a story real quick about this. I am the oldest of 5. So when I bought this after it came out, but even so, I was probably 14 years old. So I had very young siblings. So my dad said, and I don't blame him, by the way. Actually, I think this is a great story. My dad said, you know, if you want to have this record hanging out in the house, you're going to have to put some tape. It was brown tape, some brown masking tape over the devil and over the eddy, so that your younger brothers and sisters don't get the crap scared out of them. True story. So, you know, when I finally either left the house or my siblings got old enough, I tried to remove the tape from the cover as delicately as possible. And but you can see, so this is the inside sleeve. You can see that this had to get taped together. I wore this thing out. You're actually right, Lisa. I wore this record out, and I haven't played it in a while. But the vinyl itself is very cool. If you can see that, they've got their little creepy guy sitting there in the middle there, and then the backside, it's got Eddie right there in the middle. So pretty cool right there. The artwork, all of that. I always appreciated that they took a lot of time to do their art and whatnot, and cool pictures on the inside here, and then all the lyrics on the back, who played on what. So this is the original vinyl copy of my Number of the Beast album. So that brings me to a real quick here. I want to get to share just another little story real quick, another metal story. This is my guitar pick of the week. So I have a guitar pick collection. I started sharing these 70s Metal Night. I started sharing guitar picks on my Throwdown Thursdays. And so I figured I might as well do that on this as well. So my guitar pick, this is a guitar player. It's a very unique guitar pick. This is a guitar player who is not as well known as he should be. And from a band that's not as well known as they should be. Fantastic guitar player from Japan. This is an Akira Takasaki pick. Akira Takasaki from the band Loudness. I believe my friend Misha may have given me this pick. Great guitar player, very, I think, underrated, but very influential. If you look at bands coming into the early 80s, a lot of guys really were looking up to these guys. It was almost kind of like some of their early stuff was very progressive. There's a album called Law of the Devil's Land and an album called Disillusion, which are very progressive, very great, kind of traditional metal. And Akira Takasaki is a great guitar player, but look at the shape of this pick. I don't know if you can see this. It's a very strange shape, kind of a medium pick. But yeah, so if you haven't checked them out, they had a popular record called Thunder in the East that came out in the early 80s with some riffs on it. I was trying to remember one of the riffs earlier today. I think that's how it goes. Yeah, so anyhow, Loudness, some really killer stuff. If you haven't checked out Akira Takasaki, check out his guitar playing. He's got a solo record called Tusk of Jaguar. That's awesome. That's the Rock and Roll Crazy Nights riff. That's not the riff of the week. That's not the riff of the week. They had another one. I was trying to figure this one out earlier from a song called We Could Be Together. My friend sent me a video clip. Really cool riffs, a lot of great guitar playing, cool melodies, great choruses. So anyhow, that was my guitar pick of the week. I have not seen Loudness live, so I would go see them if they came around. So we're going to do Name That Riff, everybody. Are you guys ready for Name That Riff? We're going to name that riff, and then I'm going to break down a little bit of this last song, and then I'm going to let y'all go, and I'm going to go. So here if you haven't, if you have not heard, I haven't heard that band, Asterism. A lot of great rock out there, a lot of great metal that I haven't heard. So here's what happens with Riff of the Week if you have not checked it out. I'm going to play a riff. The first person to get it right. The first person to get it right wins bragging rights. That's what you get. And so this is what has to happen. And I've been trying to explain the rules this whole time. I need the band name spelled correctly, preferably, and the name of the song. Not just a half a band name or a mispronouncing of a band name, but the band name and the song in the post. And then you comment, "Hey, Daryl, what's going on, man? I'm getting ready for Name That Riff." And so that needs to be in the comment, hit return. Now, what ends up happening is you're going to probably see your comment first, which doesn't necessarily mean that you actually got it first. Whatever pops up over here that I can see in my Facebook feed on my fan page, my music page, that's going to be what we go off of. And everyone, we'll try and get it right. We have had second and third places, but I'm just going to play a little bit of this riff. It's pretty identifiable for if you're a metalhead. And great riff of the week here. Let me stretch it out so make sure I get it right. I'm just going to do the main meat of the riff, and then I'll kind of play the rest of it here. So you guys ready? Are you guys ready? You got your hands on the keyboards. You got your ears open. Are you ready for Name That Riff? I think Larry, well, on Throwdown Thursdays, Larry's gotten 3. Colleen's gotten 3, but I don't know. I don't remember exactly what I did 2 weeks ago for Metal Monday, but here it is. Here's the riff of the week. Here we go. That's the main riff. And whatever pops up first here, I'm going to be checking the Facebook comments. See what pops up first here. I'll play it one more time. Steven, boom. Steven got it. Steven got it. Looks like Daryl, you were right behind him. You guys are right behind him. Steven, Daryl. All right, let me double check. Let me go back here and look at the comments here. If you guys can go back and check. Now that there's enough up there. The one that came on mine, the one that came up first on mine was Steven. So I'm going to go back and double check and see if that is what it looks like here. Drawing a blank. Let's see. Can you guys tell? It looks like Steven got it first. If you guys look in the comments. So anyhow, that's what I'm going to go with, and this, unless someone needs to contest this. Unless you need to contest it, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that Steven got it first. So anyhow, great one right there. It's a great riff. All right, Larry. All right, thank you guys for confirming that. Anyhow, that's a great riff. Speaking of all, riffs, you know. There you go, Steven. You have bragging rights. Bragging rights for the next couple of weeks. Well done. Well done. All right, you guys. I am going to do one last little breakdown for you here. Before I do, I want to let you know that I'm going to be streaming live on Wednesday on Tab Benoit's Facebook page for what's called Whiskey Bayou Wednesdays. It's at 7 o'clock Eastern, which is 5 o'clock Pacific and 8 o'clock Eastern. And I'm going to do an hour show. I've got a record coming out on Tab's label later this year, info to be announced. And he's been kind enough to let his artists on his label do shows on his Facebook page. So I will be on Tab's Facebook page for Whiskey Bayou Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, which I guess will be the 17th. So go over to Tab Benoit's Facebook and give it a like. Give mine a like if you haven't. I'm also going to stream it to my YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube and you're not on Facebook, I will be streaming that performance to my YouTube channel, but it will be Tab Benoit's Facebook page. So that's Whiskey Bayou Wednesday. All right, well, Larry, you know, there's so many great songs. I'm going to do the last song on this, an epic Iron Maiden song. I'm going to get through as much of this as I can, which isn't the whole song. It's probably just going to be the intro and the first couple of riffs. It's called Hallowed Be Thy Name. Let me change the channel real quick on this amp to give a little, get a little bit of a clean sound going here. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of this. This is a great tune, epic song. And if you want to nerd out with me on harmonies, there's some really cool stuff in this song. And I want to just kind of explain, if you've got a guitar, you're a guitar player, or you're interested in harmony at all, you know, the Iron Maiden guys got their sense of harmony, obviously, from bands like Thin Lizzy or Wishbone Ash, and you can trace guitar harmonies back even further, you know, Allman Brothers and whatnot. But, you know, we basically got this melody. Okay, and then there's a part beneath it. So it's basically two notes, and if you've ever watched a video of this, Dave Murray plays this part. And the harmony, you know, really comes from, he's taking the harmony note and putting it down an octave, and it almost creates this little chord. All against kind of an E root, so Steve Harris will play like a low E, and then you got this. The hard thing about this is really keeping keeping these shapes. It's kind of a similar shape that works down. So we're starting with, there's like a G in the bass, and the melody's up here on the B string. So it's the A string and the B string. First time it comes back to D. Second time it goes to. And the scale that that's derived from is a scale that you're going to hear more in classical music. It's called the harmonic minor scale. And, you know, regular minor scale, that's like a regular minor scale. The harmonic minor scale, you have a raised 7th degree, so it's the 7th degree that would also be in common with a major scale. So it gives it a little bit more of an exotic sound. Yngwie would use a lot of the harmonic minor scale in his stuff. So you can't really strum that, you really have to fingerpick this. So that's the intro, and it goes on, and the chords change underneath that. And so that's a great intro. So then it comes up to this next part. So the rhythm part starts galloping. All right, so there's a gallop going on, and then there's a guitar harmony on top of that. And the video's got a little blurry. Sorry about that, everybody. The camera kind of comes in and out of focus. One of the things that Iron Maiden does with guitar harmonies, which is a pretty standard thing, is to play a melody and then add another note on top. If we're in a minor key, it'd be a minor third on top of the melody note. So this goes into a riff that goes. Which is reminiscent of. So it's really based off of that intro, but now it's just a little bit different. And then there's a harmony part on top of that. Let me see if I can get the camera to refocus here, everybody. We'll see what happens. Anyhow, if it's out of focus, I apologize. So what I've done is I've played the first part of the harmony into my loop pedal, and I'm going to harmonize with it, and then I'll play, hopefully, if I don't have any technical difficulties here, I'll play the rhythm part underneath it, and you can see how it all works. So again, there's the melody. I'm going to see if I can just kind of reset this and see if it kind of comes back into focus or not. And then the harmony. Okay, so here's the melody. Okay. And then the harmony on top of it is. Okay, so that's the harmony and the melody that coming out of that intro section. So if I all right, so that's both parts going through, and let's see here, Logitech, what are you doing? I'm getting to focus, my friend. So that's both of the parts going there. So now I'm going to play that back and play the chords underneath it, and you can see that it works with the chord progression underneath it. So there's the harmony going, right? All right, so that's the big harmony thing there. And again, minor thirds, Maiden does a lot of that in their music, and it's a great sound. And you know, and again, kind of working from a theme. So that's from the intro, and then pretty similar. It's basically the same kind of melody with a little bend in there. So the next riff I have a tough time with because it kind of changes. It's actually two parts that sound kind of like one part. That's actually very deceptive and actually kind of difficult to play. It's two separate parts, and at first when I was trying to figure this out, I couldn't tell why I wasn't able to get it down. But the first part is, so we're in E minor. Well, that's the first part of it. Damn utility. You know what? Actually, Jeff, it's funny you mentioned that. I think my computer might be too old to get that app. But you know, let's maybe talk it over. Let's maybe talk it over. So the first part of the riff. Now the second part, you can tell now in hindsight when I was learning, you can tell it's not the same as that because you don't hear this note in the second part. You don't hear the A. The first part. It doesn't go up to that A the second time. So very deceptive, and it's a really cool riff. And then from there, it goes into that. So I'm going to slow that down one more time. That's all I got time for today as far as the riffs, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. We did Invaders, The Prisoner, Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, talked a little bit about Akira Takasaki. We did Name That Riff. Stephen won Name That Riff, which was Judas Priest, Victim of Changes. I want to get your guys' vote. I'm going to put this out for a vote right now, and I'll also repost this later. For 2 weeks from today, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break. I've been doing every other week with Metal Mondays and every other week with Throwdown Thursdays. I'm not sure what July is going to hold, but I will let y'all know. So I am kind of leaning one way. I don't want to tell you which one of these two records I want to do. I want to kind of see what you guys want to do, and that may influence my decision what to do if there's an overwhelming vote either way. So 2 weeks from now, would you guys rather have a breakdown of Black Sabbath Paranoid or AC/DC Back in Black? Now, AC/DC isn't necessarily metal. I consider them very hard rock or rhythm and blues, B-R-U-I-S-E. But related to metal, it's a very hard record, very heavy. Or the second record from Black Sabbath. There's great riffs on both of these. So 2 weeks from today, let me just read you the track names just in case you're not totally familiar about what's going on here. So with Black Sabbath, War Pigs, Paranoid, I mean right there, you could stop with War Pigs and Paranoid. Planet Caravan, Iron Man, side 1. Side 2, Electric Funeral, Hand of Doom, Rat Salad, and Fairies Wear Boots. And I've got a couple copies of this. This, again, gatefold sleeve. If you've watched Throwdown Thursdays, you can see that a big fan of the gatefold sleeve. Gatefold sleeve right there. And I don't know if you guys know this, but originally this record was going to be called War Pigs, thus this cover. And Paranoid was the last song that was written for the record. And the record label went, oh, well, that's the hit. You know, that's going to be the one. That's the song. So even though Paranoid is the second song on the album, it is a very, you know, I guess catchy for the time metal tune. So they changed at the last minute. According to legend, I would have to Wikipedia this, they changed the title of the record to Paranoid, but they did not change the cover art. If you can imagine that. Anyhow, Paranoid by Black Sabbath or AC/DC Back in Black, the first record with Brian Johnson. So let me read you the hits, the hits. It's all hits on this one pretty much. The song list: Back in Black, Hell's Bells, Shoot to Thrill, Give the Dog a Bone, What Do You Do for Money, Honey, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution, Let Me Put My Love Into You, You Shook Me All Night Long, Shake a Leg and Have a Drink on Me. So this is the vinyl pressing. Now that isn't actually the track order if you look at the record, which is interesting. That is the songs listed. The actual track order is side 1, Hell's Bells, Shoot to Thrill, What Do You Do for Money, Honey, Give the Dog a Bone, Let Me Put My Love Into You, and then side 2, Back in Black, You Shook Me All Night Long, Have a Drink on Me, Shake a Leg, Rock and Roll, Ain't Noise Pollution. Those are the choices, and I can see everyone's already chiming in. We got some people for Sabbath. We got some people for AC/DC. You know, who knows? Maybe I'll get around to doing both. Tell your friends about Metal Mondays, everybody, and let's see if we can get some more people watching. So I will announce in the next week or so which one of these will be the next Metal Mondays album. So anyhow, those are the options. Vote on it. I'll go back through and I'll start tallying these. And I'll post up on this. I'll post up on Instagram, and we'll figure it out. So once again, you guys, I'm going to circle back to the worthy cause of the week. If you are so inclined, this is a charity that Iron Maiden supports. It is a music therapy charity. Go to the website, check it out, do a little bit of reading, and if you are in a position to donate, that is my worthy cause that I'm supporting for this Metal Monday. Nordoff-Robbins, UK's largest indie music therapy charity. Nordoff-Robbins.org.uk. So check that out, everybody. And like I said, if anything, it's just for the information. I try to do a worthy cause every week for Throwdown Thursdays and for my Metal Mondays. So. All right, hey, but it's good to see some votes. Good to see some votes. I like to see it. I like to see it. I like to see some voting going on. All right, you guys, that's it for me. That was my hour's worth. I'm going to go soak my hands in ice after playing all those riffs. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have any questions about the riffs, you can you can private message me. And if you want to get on the Skype or the Zoom, I am doing guitar lessons. So you can private message me about that as well. So thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm going to get out of here, and hope you enjoyed the breakdown of Number of the Beast. Thanks, Corey. In a couple of weeks. Be good humans. Be safe out there. Appreciate you guys checking it out. Please check out the worthy cause of the week one more time. Nordoff-Robbins.org. Please take a look at that. Even if you don't have any money to give, I would appreciate if you guys gave that a look. And once again, please, if you have a second, also get around to subscribing and liking my different social channels. YouTube.com/AGBluesBand. You're right here on my Facebook or my YouTube already if you're watching this. And I've got a website with an email list, alistairgreen.com. I send out emails every couple of weeks. And Instagram and Twitter. So I'm going to sign off, you guys. And thanks again for tuning in. And I will hopefully see you guys in a couple of weeks. All right. Take care, everyone. Peace.